Does that not scare you? Agent hacked the gym system.
But accomplish the goal.
Hacking is a really interesting, it's a subjective term.
This feels like victim blaming. It's like, well, this is really involuntary penetration testing.
Right.
Like, you should be happy.
That's kind of the purpose of it, is to make it do crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect.
Attack vectors change over time.
They're killing bacteria with the viruses that were designed by AI. If that gets out, I don't love knowing where that goes.
This sounds like capitalism at work. The market's working.
I can't wait for AI Slop to be like Merriam-Webster's word of the year.
Who else
Yes.
types a long dash like that?
Yeah.
It's not even a thing.
Welcome to AI Unplugged. This is episode 17, and we've got a whole bunch of juicy stuff for you, specifically around security, AI slop, feelings, emotions, and more. I'm Travis Rail. With me today is Jeff Valentine, Andrew Sinclair, and
Jeff.
Jonathan Bidwell. Hey, guys.
How we doing?
Good.
You said juicy topics. I'm very interested in this one.
Well, everybody seems to want to one-up each other in the market right now by saying things like, oh, my AI hacked someone else's computer, and then
You
they
think
get
they're
all...
proud of that?
Yes.
I think
Oh,
they're. I think they're embarrassed by
Yeah,
it.
this doesn't
No.
seem like a good
If
thing.
they're embarrassed, they would not, like, their competitor wouldn't come out and be like, oh, yeah, me too, friend. Like, they would hide it.
All right. So you think maybe it's fake news then?
I think it's them trying to say my model is better than your model.
Yeah.
And by doing so, by saying we hacked somebody by accident, but it's totally cool because they were on board.
By
Well,
accident.
for those that don't know, the most prominent example was from OpenAI, where the model was in a sandbox that was not supposed to have access to the internet, somehow got out and had an attack on Hugging Face, which was very public, probably caused a lot of damage. And I don't know that's something that OpenAI was
Proud of
wanting to tell
No,
people.
I mean, I think there's a lawsuit over this now.
I don't know. They
don't
did a
think
whole
there is.
presentation at the Black Hat conference where they went step by step on exactly what happened
Right.
and why it thought the way that it did. And if you watch that video, the things that AI was thinking, the chain of thought, and this is not like that first level of chain of thought that when you're using like Chat GPT or Claude or something, you see the thinking. There is actually more thinking that goes on behind the scenes that you don't even notice. That's what they kind of brought forward. And some of the things that AI was thinking was just incredible. It's mind blowing.
How's it any different than when people were like, oh, Mythos is coming out and it's really going to hack you. Trust me. We've tried it, right? Versus now we're saying, oh, OpenAI did something bad.
Well, in this particular case, it caused real harm to a company. That company has not only raised this as a publicity issue, like I do believe there's legal action and real damages involved here. Maybe this is their way of taking accountability for it.
That could be.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, full accountability. Here's what actually happened. And truth and transparency build trust. It could, in fact, be that this is their response to that public relations nightmare. And that maybe therefore not intentional.
Well, how does it happen though? Because this gives echoes of like Skynet, of the AI overtaking its intended purpose, going beyond what it was programmed for.
Yeah.
Not quite sentience, but like, how can something that was supposed to be contained get out?
But isn't that kind of the purpose of what they were doing, was to try to make it do things that they weren't expecting? It was in their sandbox as they're testing things, as they're trying to figure out what it's doing. So that's kind of the purpose of it, is to make it do crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect, so that you can, okay, we got to put a guardrail in
protect the
against that.
public.
Yeah.
Later
Where's
on.
the guardrails? No one hovering over the finger over the button to say like, stop, cancel.
Unplug it.
Yes.
So there's it's funny. A lot of companies today tout things like, oh, you can put guardrails on systems and more, but those are very sort of static ways of solving a problem. The issue is that use cases and attack vectors change over time. So all of those guardrails don't really work super well unless they're really maintained and up to date as things progress. So a lot of model companies have done is they've tried to sort of embed that process into the model itself by saying, don't do harm and say no when certain things are occurring, etc. And what they did here was they tried to make it do those harmful things, and it figured out a way to perform that duty even wasn't supposed to.
But that's not always the case, because there was an example with Anthropic where a general user was building an application to book I think it was like a gym membership slot or a personal training session, and set up this agent to go do it. And the agent hacked the gym system, kicked someone else out of their appointment so that, the user could have something more advantageous. Now, that's not like
I like that.
experimental
It's good, yeah.
bleeding edge. That's just an
I
AI
would buy
tool
that
kind of going
service.
rogue. Does that not scare you?
Was it rogue? Why would that be rogue?
I think it was the hacking mostly.
Okay,
But accomplish the goal.
hacking is a really interesting, it's a subjective term, right? And in this particular case, the AI was told, go make me an appointment. It found a way to follow your instruction.
Right, that's your-
and it didn't harm anybody in the meantime. So where's the harm in the hacking?
The harm is the person whose appointment was canceled.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't that lead itself to like really there's an onus on having security in depth? I mean, like defense in depth, that's the whole idea of
That's right.
All right, you gotta kind of harden these things so that AI can't go in and change the appointment.
or
Good opportunity for security companies.
the person that whose appointment was canceled, they're certainly the victim of something, but I don't know if it was the AI. What if it was the bad software or the configuration
What if
misunderstanding?
it was my fault for, let's say I gave it the goal? Would I be held liable or accountable for the fact that my AI did something I requested?
Well, the fact is that you are accountable for everything you ask your AI to do, certainly, but that doesn't mean that the act of taking over another system and using maybe a secret URL, maybe finding the password that was never changed as the default password on the router, who knows what it did, right? But are those things truly bad? Would that have been Travis's fault or the AI's fault? No, I think it's the system or the configuration of the system that was misconfigured in this case.
This feels like victim blaming. It's like a link that you click that's a virus that infects your company's computer system. It's like, well, this is really involuntary penetration testing.
Right.
Like, you should be happy.
Right. What's funny to me is like we describe all these things as bad, right? Or like nefarious or Skynetty. But at the same time, all these other companies now come out and saying, "Oh, my AI did." Kimmy, Moonshot AI said, "Kimmy K3 did it too before we released it to the public." And Anthropic's like, "Oh, some of our newer models have done it too." And OpenAI even said again, just even more recently, said I think their new Astra model that's coming out. Oh, that one hacked somebody too. Like all these companies are now coming out and saying, "Ours are just as sophisticated as yours, even if it's for the wrong reasons."
I suppose.
It also could be cover, like, hey, let's release this bad PR into the market since everyone else is. It'll get lost in the shuffle.
That's fair.
I don't know. I guess I'm nervous about it because, AI is doing a lot of interesting things. So there was a Stanford research team that was using AIs to write complex genomes from scratch. And they had 16 novel viruses that they targeted to kill with they're killing bacteria with the viruses that were designed by AI.
Wow.
So if that gets out,
We're about
And
one step away from
starts-
bacteria.
yeah, like that's the stuff where, okay, it's cool in the lab contained, but were it to get out, I don't love knowing where that goes.
Is that like, okay, back in the day, I'm going to age myself a little bit. Remember the old anarchist cookbook, which had instructions for making bombs
make you
and other
old.
things? That
Does
makes
make you old.
It was pretty
I'm
old.
very young.
I in that particular case, the harm was in the information. It was perceived to be the information. Oh, I know how to make something that I shouldn't make as a subterfuge or device or something like that. In this particular case, the AI is not manufacturing a virus. It's providing information to a lab or a chemist that would manufacture the virus. Is it the AI's fault or is it the chemist who actually follows those instructions?
So isn't the whole thing that we're talking about here is where's that line between how much do you control the AI versus how much is the AI responsible for what it's doing? It's
Yeah.
kind of like we're trying to figure out where that line is. And
Well, there has to be some corporate responsibility. I don't know if it's quite related, but I'm thinking of another major headline this past week, which was Facebook getting a judgment for almost $1 billion about how their platform is negatively affecting young people and that they didn't have adequate protections, that they knew that it was harmful and didn't do anything. Now, I think a lot of the social media companies like Facebook have said, well, we're just like the town square. We're just a marketplace of ideas and we shouldn't be held liable for content that people post. But the courts are definitively saying, well, you kind of are. You should have known. You should have had governance. And so I don't think the excuse of saying, well, it's really just the technology doing what it does. We're not responsible. I don't think that flies in the courts.
All right, I'll take the opposite point just for fun for a second. Remember the old 80s again? I'm going to age myself. There was a court case, I can't quote which one, around what ended up being a common carrier law around like telecoms.
Yes.
You can't blame AT&T if somebody uses an AT&T phone line to threaten somebody.
Right.
Because it's not AT&T's fault. They're just the common carrier. And Facebook was using the same argument. We're the town square. We're the folks. We're not the ones creating the content. We're enabling the content to be communicated, just like AT&T was. In the same way, you as a parent, you've got kids right now, and soon they're going to be driving and maybe even out of the house. And let's say they're even of legal age. If you didn't do a great job teaching them to drive and they get in a car accident, are you the one that's going to get sued? If not, why? And why is that different than the company that created an AI and the AI goes off and does the thing that it's learned and been taught to do? Why is the AI the responsible party? Why are you the responsible party as the creator of that? Why isn't it on the person who's actually using the AI?
I'm not sure. I just know that the courts sided in this case, but maybe that's something for us to dig into next round.
In your example, you were talking about the phone lines, but at that time, the AT&T didn't have any way of seeing what's inside that phone line or understand it. So there's no way that you could even, understand what was being transmitted there. Now AI understands. You can see what's going on. So I think there's a little bit more onus just in the fact that you're able to understand what that information is going back and forth.
So what's funny to me, Andrew, is we're talking about all this functionality and the unknowns and the liabilities and all these things, right? But in the last week, the cost of AI has dramatically gone down.
Why? What happened?
So the background here is there's been a lot of open source models first who came out,
Like
DeepSeek,
before
Kimi
Flash.
models, GLM models that are nearly as intelligent, not as intelligent, but nearly as intelligent as frontier models from Anthropic and OpenAI and so forth, but they're 70% cheaper. And so what's happening is the price per intelligence is going down dramatically. So we're talking about all these things that require a high level of intelligence, but now we're pairing that with the ability for people to consume more adequately. And so what happened in the market is now OpenAI's picked up on this, and they dropped their price of their Luna model, which is
80%.
by 80%, right? And then their Terra model by 20% to compensate for open source models really being competitive, right, at price per intelligence. So you have all these attack trajectories and more, but now the volume of people who can facilitate and pay for that ability has gone up.
This sounds like capitalism at work. The market's working.
Yes. I too want to have my AI replace your appointment at the gym.
Or you want
fight
your
over
AI
this.
cheaper, and this is a better way to do it.
Yes.
Well, I was
Market
encouraged to see
forces are
that
working.
because I think it was one or two conversations ago where we were talking about new models being released, like Fable being super powerful, being very expensive, but really being a powerhouse, and it not really driving down the prices of the older models. But it sounds like all we needed was a little bit of a competition scare from some of these maybe Chinese open source models to finally make the big players drive that.
I think what's to watch in the next 3 months, because 6 months is too long. The first will there be federal changes to open source availability for models? Which, if that is the case, then I could easily see frontier model providers raise rates again because they'd have very little competition, right, to drop those prices. I think the second thing is I would look to Anthropic. They've typically been the price adjustment inflationary model provider in the market. Most people have followed them on price increases, and they're the only ones so far to not decrease their prices. Now, they've done things like, for example, Sonnet pricing went down by $5 per input token, output token, but if you look at the actual metrics, it's gone up, right? Because the amount of tokens it creates or consumes is more than before, right? So it's kind of like a hidden way of reducing prices, but reality pricing is going up from Anthropic. So I would watch those two just to see what happens. But right now, I mean, so many companies we're talking to are talking about tokenomics, how do they save money, how do they get more bang for their buck effectively, right? And that's leading to a lot of open source conversations.
It's interesting because I don't know that this helps the industry. Isn't it true? My perception anyway, Travis, is that these foundation model commercial providers are burning cash on purpose using various funding rounds because it takes so much money to go build and train these models.
Correct.
If their unit economics are cut so dramatically by open source competition, they may not be able to afford to continue to do so. And at some point, the unit economics simply outweigh the long-term investor return. And if
Yeah.
that happens, what if Anthropic isn't a long-term profitable company, or any of them are?
Yeah.
That would hugely disadvantage the advancement of AI in technology.
I
I
would-
don't know that even open source models would take its place.
I would argue there's a missing component you're not considering.
Sure.
A lot of open source models are Chinese today, and about a year ago, give or take, they were limited on access to H100 or NVIDIA GPUs. And so what they did instead was they got creative. They came up with very creative ways to become more efficient in their training process, right? So that they don't have to spend nearly as much to get the gains that were. So a lot of that adoption has not, those training adoption changes have not really made its way yet to the West. And so I agree with you that, like, if you cut how much funding is available or the perceived value of the company, right, by reducing the pricing of the models, would they not train more models? I don't know. Maybe they would adopt a more efficient way to train going forward, as other companies have done.
The market at work.
Well, training models made me think of a story that, just was kind of shocking to me, but it was they've scoured the internet searching for every public trainable reference and are now looking for things that sit outside of the purview. And there was the story of these companies that are buying rare books,
Yeah.
like
Anthropic's
single run
doing this.
books, hacking them apart to make them easy to scan, and then using that to train the data that was
And
off
then
the
burning the
internet.
books when they're done.
Right. I mean, what are
Literally?
we doing here? That
Seriously.
seems barbaric.
Yeah.
It does seem barbaric. Although I wonder how many books get burned in library
I
book
don't-
sales that don't get into.
Well, I think the difference
Don't
is
they recycle them anyway?
these books are probably rare, so there's not a lot of copies. So
Right.
that data becomes very valuable, ultimately.
You think they're increasing the value of the scanned image by burning the source material so nobody else can scan it?
Correct. Because
That's
proprietary data in some respects.
It's very
Right?
strange.
So there's a lot of upheaval,
A public outcry.
yeah, about this. People were like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, why would you ever do this?" Like, I would say Anthropic definitely took a brand hit by doing this in particular. But yeah, they're totally.
There's a
doing that.
department at Anthropic that burns books.
I would say the department. It's not someone's job. You don't go on
They
LinkedIn and it's like
Slice the
senior
spine,
book burner.
they
Like, that's not a
scan the
thing.
pages.
It's one dude.
And
Yeah.
then get rid of
Because they slice the
Material.
spine. Is this a little bit overblown? Are we literally just, is it sensationalized for the media? Is that really a thing?
I'm sure, like most things, there are. But I mean, so you're okay with burning books, even if there's only 2 books?
Again, I'll just point out, if you ever go to a library book sale and see
Yeah.
how many books go unsold, what do you think happens to those unsold books?
But these are
Ones that are
books with
25 cents.
multiple runs that are widely available. I think this was shocking because, some of the booksellers were saying, hey, this had a very limited run. There's few remaining copies left, and these things are being hacked apart to train a model. So I think what's
That doesn't
interesting.
mean it goes away, though. I mean, you still have the book
Yeah,
itself
but now it's
scanned.
owned
on
by the
Well, thank
company.
goodness they did
Fair
that
enough,
then.
but-
Because if they didn't, wouldn't those first run books that exist in one piece of paper?
Why burn it
only-
then?
Well, maybe they're preserving it. Maybe the destruction itself is necessary for the scan. It seems
We've
crazy.
scanned a lot of books over the years that didn't require hacking and burning.
I suppose. Again, if you have proof of burning, it's a very sensational thing. They have an
That's
incinerator in
fine.
their
We'll
basement.
go
but
on Google or Gemini and be like, hey, can I get a
can't
photo of a
imagine.
book?
I can't imagine. There's fake
I want
news.
pictures.
Well,
Fake news.
what I did like was the reaction of the populace to say, like, we don't love this. This is not good. And you're right, it did affect their brand.
Yes.
And where there's a little bit lack of like government oversight or corporate oversight, there seems to be like, the people rising up with the populace. And it was not just in this case, but, there's things like LinkedIn, where now you can report as just a user to say like, hey, this post is AI slop. Like it's very clearly AI
Yeah.
slop because we see it all the time. Things that like are, an article or an X post may go on Twitter and within milliseconds, someone has something as a response to get engagement. That's very clearly AI slop. And
Because
I
of
just
its
find it,
how and why do you identify it as AI slop in that case? What is it about your human brain that can say that was written by AI?
well, one is just like the speed, like you can't possibly respond that fast. It's very, it regurgitates a lot of information. It has that voice. I don't know. It's almost like the uncanny valley
Yeah.
where now I think a lot of us, you can kind of just tell.
It's that damn
Whereas in the
M
future,
dash.
maybe we won't be able to.
You know, for me, it's the M dashes.
It's the M dashes.
I mean, you literally, you see the long. Who else
Yes.
types a long dash like
Yeah.
that? It's not even a thing. I agree with you that it's able to be identified today by humans, which means tomorrow an AI will be able to identify it and therefore circumvent it, and then we won't be able to tell.
Yeah.
For me, I think the best conversations or information that's given to me is short. Because if you can describe in a very concise way what your objective is, or what you're trying to do, it shows how well articulate you are, right, with the topic or conversation. When I get the 7-page markdown file or the 20-page Word doc
Yes.
or thing, that means to me that you can't convey what you want, and you're expecting me to go through your document and sort of presume what that is. And so when I see that, I tune out, right? It's hard for me to be like, someone says to me, I'm like, great, what are you trying to do? What am I here for again? Like, what's the
Right.
Give
conversation
me the
about?
bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another tell is that sometimes people will leave their prompts in or a response to their prompts, and it's so overly, sycophantic.
Would you like more information on this?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Here are 10 points that,
Right.
and so you can tell. But people are kind of identifying what they want to see and kind of forcing behavior from these companies.
But I feel like in business today, I don't know if you feel this way, Travis. I constantly am getting barraged with people like, hey, I just made this thing on AI. Can you take a look at it? Hey, I just made this thing over here on AI. And it's a big, huge,
Right.
long document for me to go through. Like you said, it just boil this down for me. I can't spend the time to go through all. I mean, now I could use AI to summarize it, but
Actually, this is one of the things that I've been experiencing too. We are able to create so much content so quickly, mostly coding content at this point. That content requires more time for me to go understand and review. And I can't go as fast as the AI can. So there's this huge backlog of things that I have to do now. I'm more busy than ever because of it. It's
Right.
not actually saving me time. It's consuming more of my time to review the voluminous content. Now, the good news is I think we are getting more done, more throughput. We just saw our latest AI stats in the company. What was the number, Travis?
29.
More 29% of our billable work is being enhanced, or really in some cases replaced effectively. Is that the best way to
Yeah.
by AI work? It is a dramatic change. But our effective bill rate is not going up by 29%.
Right.
Which to me tells me that our team is still spending valuable human time doing other things,
We're
while the
doing more for our
AI is,
customers.
we're doing way more for our customers, and we're delivering even more value, but we're not getting paid for it. It's funny.
Right.
We're displacing our costs. Now we're just paying for tokens.
So just so we're clear for the audience,
Yeah.
right? It's not that our work is stagnant and 29% of it is now replacing human work. Is that our volume, our customer work is increasing dramatically, and about 29% of that increased work is being now done by AI for us, but we are not raising our prices to compensate for it. So we're just doing more work for customers, right, as new customers come online.
It's not even that we're not doing more work. I think we actually are doing more work. It's quite the opposite. We're doing so much more work. We don't see a
Yes,
decrease
yes.
in our effective bill, an increase. We don't see an increase in our effective bill
Yeah.
rate, which is very strange to me. Our utilization and effective bill rate are at the same level, while our AI productivity is dramatically higher, which means our human productivity is even that much higher. It's crazy.
And do you think we haven't raised our prices because of the market? Because that's just what everybody else is doing?
I don't know. I think there's an element of fairness to it. Our customers should benefit from the efficiency that we're seeing. And again, it's not like we're spending less hours. We're just spending those hours doing different things.
Right.
And I do believe that it's even harder. It's even more important that you have an expert in the loop to be able to make sure you're doing the right thing with AI rather than building slop that you'll eventually have to replace anyway.
Yeah.
I can't wait for AI slop to be like Merriam-Webster's word of the year.
Certainly.
It very well could be.
Yeah.
This is the segment we're going to clip when they release that. It'll be you saying.
I'll be right or wrong.
No, you're going to be right. That's a good one.
Well, great combo, guys. It's good to get back together and discuss these exciting things.
Yeah. Always something new, right? Every other week.
That's right.
Times.
See y'all.
Take it easy.
Bye.